Obviously, Google, probably the number one search engine on the internet, and now it has this. It has the feature, of course, where it offers you search suggestions. If you're searching,
Oh, yes.
you start entering John Cougar, and it's like, did you mean John Cougar Mellencamp? I'm like, I did. Thanks, Google.
Yes.
So when I type in Alison Haislip into Google,
Right.
it offers me a few search suggestions about what other users have searched for, and the first thing that pops up is Alison Haislip boyfriend. We also have Alison Haislip hot, Alison Haislip Maxim, and of course Alison Haislip Catwoman.
Oh my gosh.
Care to address the internet public that is searching those terms about you? I mean, why an interest in whether you have a boyfriend or
Well, I mean that just comes with the nature of the show. Attack of the show's demographic are guys between the ages of like 15 to 35 for the most part. So obviously one of the things that works well on the network is having, cute ladies talking about the stuff that they love. So they like to know if we're available, I guess. That would obviously explain the boyfriend one.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested to see what it says if you search that. I'm sort of surprised by the Alison Haislip hot one. Like, I don't understand what they think is going to pop up. Like, validation that I'm hot, or...
Like, that's not really a search so much as like a statement. I mean, that's not really...
Right, exactly. But what is it going to find, I guess, is the question.
Yeah.
That surprises me. The Maxim one's understandable because I had an article in Maxim not too long ago.
Yeah.
Look, Catwoman was the last one, right?
Yes.
See, that surprises me because I was in a Catwoman costume 2 years ago at Comic-Con, and the fact that is still one of the top searches for me is baffling. I've done so much awesome stuff since then, but everyone wants to see me in the damn Catwoman costume.
I mean, what else have you done with a whip, though, is the thing. I mean...
That is a good point.
Yeah.
I know on YouTube, if you search me, one of the top videos that pops up is like Allison Kisses a Girl remake or remix or something like that.
I might have seen that video, yeah.
Yeah. I might have that bookmarked. I don't know.
It might be one of my favorites. I don't remember. You actually mentioned it just briefly, but the G4's demographic, of course, there's an appeal for having attractive women talking about geeky things.
Right.
And a couple things I've read in some other interviews is basically like people want you to prove you're a geek, show your geek credentials. And you mentioned you've been playing Nintendo since you were a kid.
Right.
But why? In addition to that, why do you think that question keeps coming up? And like, do you think there's a fear out there among the geek community that like G4 is tricking us by hiring really attractive actresses to pretend to be geeky?
Right. I understand that. I mean, I think. One of the staples of being a geek or a nerd is that you're kind of an outcast when you're growing up. And so to have an entire network dedicated to you is fantastic, first off, but you don't want to think that the people on there are pretending to know your pain of being an outcast, You want to think that the people talking to you actually know what you've gone through and what you're feeling and things like that. And it's hard to believe that there are hot girls up there who could understand that because, in any of those like high school type movies, it's always the hot girl. She doesn't know the geeks. She doesn't know their names or anything like that. So I understand the need to know that we are legit. Although I have been on the network for 2 years, I have done so much stuff to prove my geekiness. So the fact that people still don't believe me, I've kind of just given up. I'm like, the people who don't believe are just never going to believe,
Yeah, it makes sense.
Kind of keep going on like the line of, geek talk. It's becoming more acceptable to be a geek, at least on a certain level. Because gamers aren't just basement dwellers or, comic book movies are a lot more popular. Is there anything about yourself that could almost be too geeky?
Well, I took philosophy of Tolkien in college. Yes, I actually studied Tolkien, which I think is, really up there in the geekiness level. And along the same lines, I am actually a charter member of the Lord of the Rings fan club, and I have my membership card to prove it.
Wow. That definitely trumps my history of Disney class in college. So
right. So not only do I love Tolkien, but I've put some time into Tolkien. I have committed to Tolkien. So So I think that those are my uber geeky trends. Oh, and I went to space camp for 4 years. If anyone can top 4 years at space camp, I'd like to see them.
Do you get like a plaque or something after that?
No, although they did ask me to become a counselor after that, but then I went off to college and did like important adult stuff. But trust me, I really considered becoming a counselor at space camp because I loved it that much.
So if they ever remake the movie Space Camp, you're in, right?
Totally. Although, okay, there are two questions that people ask me when they find out I went to space camp. The first one is it anything like the movie? To which I have to reply, no, it's nothing like the movie. The only thing that's similar is that they have that gyroscope seat thing that you twist around in, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the second question is, did you go in an anti-gravity chamber? And then to which I reply, those things do not exist.
What?
There's no such thing as an anti-gravity chamber. So no, I did not go in one, even though I went to space camp.
You just crushed all my hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
I know. People are like, but it's in Armageddon. I'm like, that's the movie. Earlier
you mentioned you're friends with everybody on the show, pretty much.
Yeah.
You can find like a lot of awkward humor on Attack of the Show. Has there been a moment that's were like too uncomfortable, you didn't know where it was going?
One of the first times I hosted with Chris Hardwick, he randomly out of the blue decided to say that Haislip sounded like part of the female anatomy. I was like, what? And number one, no, it doesn't. But number two, where did you get that from? And I was just like, this could go into a conversation that doesn't need to be on live television.
Yeah. Potential for going off the rails.
I know.
Gotcha.
Kevin always tries to get us like right before commercial break or right before we come back from commercial. He'll always say something like entirely inappropriate just to see if I'll carry it on into the show or if I can just, cover it up.
All right. Now, we're running pretty short on time. We've taken a lot of your time, and we do appreciate you joining us here on the show. But you, in addition to all the stuff you do with G4, you mentioned, of course, you studied theater in college, and you are an actress. On your IMDb page, you've got several projects you either recently did or kind of have coming up. And when I saw you're in this a football comedy coming up, can you tell us about that and any other projects you might have acting-wise coming up?
Yeah, I just finished this movie in March. As of right now, it's called Division 3, although I think that name might be changing before it's released because every time I tell someone I'm in a movie called Division 3, they go, well, what was Division 1 and 2? I'm like, no, it means Division 3 college football.
But people are just going to think it's a sequel or something.
Because of the mistake that people make sometimes, we're probably changing the title.
Okay. And that was pretty recent you shot that, or?
Yeah, I shot it in March. It stars Andy Dick and Marshall Cook. And Andy is this crazy, controversial football coach who the team brings in to help revive the program. And he was just fantastic to work with. He's hilarious. Like, talk about a guy who's just able to go to the limit with comedy. It was really fantastic working with him. And I had a lot of fun because I was the love interest to the second-string quarterback who Marshall played. And my character was basically me. This girl who doesn't take any crap from the guys, and she can totally hang with them and doesn't fall for any of their stupid lines or anything like that, but then really has a good heart and wants to help them out. So it was fun to just mess around with that.
Okay, well, I think that about does it. Mike, did you have any more questions you want to ask Alison before we let her go?
My usual question to ask anybody, pretty much. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I love that I hate that question because I so want to fly. Like, I would love to have that superpower, but then I think about it, I'm like, that's kind of the easiest superpower to get. You know what I mean? Like, that's the cop-out superpower. So I think, I gotta be honest, I really love Shadowcat's superpower about just being able to, like, run through walls and things like that. I think I'd go with that. If I could have both of those, I'd be happy.
Yeah. I agree. No, it's such a simple question, but then if true geeks really can like labor over that because it's just like so it can really tear you apart at like a deep level trying to think about it.
You know why? It's because true geeks, there's always a part of us that thinks that it could actually happen, so we don't want to choose incorrectly.
Right. Yeah, because some people it's just like a fantasy thing. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Well, on that note, Alison Haislip, thank you very much for joining us again. You can see her basically every weekday in some capacity on Attack of the Show or on G4 in general. Thanks a lot for your time, Alison.
Thank you guys. Alaska, I really like you guys.
Hooray. Yeah, it was a blast talking to you.
Thanks.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.